Hello, I am Lawal Olalekan Olohunbebe, a community development practitioner from Nigeria. Today, we'll be looking at the meaning of community development. But to start with, we have to give the definition of community first, then we'll look at development before we now merge the two together to give us community development. Now, community. What is a community? There are so many definitions of community from different scholars across the globe, depending on their fields, depending on their localities, and depending on different things they have considered before coming up with their definitions. But people would say, some scholars would say a group of people living in the same place or having a particular characteristics in common. Some will say it means a social unit with commonalities such as norms, values, religion, customs, or identity. If you notice, a word that keeps coming in most definitions you'll be coming across is common. And that is why some scholars will tell you community means a common unity. Where we have a common unity is what community is all about. But as far as this presentation is concerned, we'll be taking just one definition, and that is a community is a group of people in a condition of sharing. A group of people in a condition of sharing. They can be sharing a lot of things. There are so many things they can be sharing. Some will share unity. Some will share boundary. Some will share common history. Some will share a common interest. Some will share a common platform. A lot of things can be shared. The moment you have a group of people in a condition of sharing, that is a community. And to identify a community or to conclude that this is a community, 4 things you have to look out for. There are so many things, but these are the 4 major things you have to look out for. The first of which is people. People. There have to be people in a community. If you have a whole town without a single soul living there, it is not a community. No matter how big the land mass is, it is not a community because we don't have human beings there. The second thing to look out for in your definition of community, in your conceptualizing community, the second thing is communication. These people must be communicating. There has to be a way they communicate. It may not be verbal, it may be in any form, it may be sign. It doesn't have to be the language you know, it can be any language. There has to be communication. A communication style has to be binding them together in a way they all understand. And that is the second thing to look out for. The third of which is boundary. There has to be a boundary, be it physical or not physical. Sometimes boundaries are only being understood, that we know where our community starts from and where it ends. It's just been implied. So a community must have people, a community must have a communication style, and a community must have a boundary. And the last thing is similarity. There has to be another thing that is binding them together, probably their language, which falls under communication style, or it may be values, it may be tradition, it may be culture, it may be anything. Something that binds them together must be there. The boundary, of course, is binding them together. The communication style, they do it in the same way. But there have to be some other things that they all share. Don't forget, we said a community means where we have common unity. Now, looking at this brief explanation as far as community is concerned, the next thing will be to look at the types of community we have. There are so many types of community, but these are the broad classification that other types can easily fall into. The first is a geographical community. A geographical community is the community you claim to be yours. Where are you from? Oh, I'm from Nigeria. Nigeria is a good example of a geographical community. Where in Nigeria? I'm from Kwara State. Kwara State is another very good example of a geographical community. And where are you from in Kwara? I am from Omwaron. I am from Oro. I am from Patigi. I am from Ilorin. Each of these examples of geographical community. Where are you from? I'm from Lagos. Where in Lagos? I'm from Ikeja. I'm from Shomolu. I am from Bariga. I am from Mushi. I am from Oshodi. All these are examples of a geographical community. A geographical community can be micro and it can be macro. It becomes macro when it's being considered side by side with a smaller community within the bigger one. A very good example of that is this. I am from Nigeria. Yes, Nigeria is a community because we have people there, we have communication style, we have boundary, and we have similarity. Yes, it is a community, but it's a macro community when considered with Kwara. Kwara is micro compared to Nigeria because Kwara is smaller and it is also found within a bigger community, which is Nigeria. Kwara also becomes a macro community by the time you start considering the 16 local government areas in the state. The moment you look at Kwara and Edu local government, Edu local government is a micro community when you look at Kwara as a macro community. Ilorin West is a micro community looking at Kwara as macro. And by the time you come to Ilorin West as a good example, some areas inside Ilorin West also becomes a macro community, a bigger one, considering the wards under it. Oh, Ajikobi ward. Ajikobi ward is under Ilorin West. Oh, Alanomo ward. Alanomo ward becomes micro while Ilorin West remains macro. It's quite interesting that even Ajikobi ward can become macro by the time you start considering different areas inside the ward. Oh, Isale Ajara is another good example, and it becomes the micro. Then Ajikobi ward assumes the level of becoming a macro community as well. When you now say Isale Ajara too can also become a macro community by the time you look at different houses, different households in these communities. So some scholars will tell you even a family is a community. A family of father, mother, and their children can be considered as a community. Some scholars will tell you that because we have people, we have a communication style, we have boundary, and we have similarity with them as well. So that is the first example of a community, geographical community. The second type of community is a community of interest. A community of interest are these people coming together from different geographical communities to form another community which is based on common interest. They are all looking for the same thing, and that thing they are looking for now binds them together to form another community. This common interest may be political, it may be educational, it may be religious, it may be anything. Good examples of this are the mosques, the churches, the shrines, the hospitals, the schools, the political parties. Anywhere you see people coming together from different geographical communities to form another community.